Next, we'll see under Unit 1 a poem called The Castle by Edwin Moore. Something about the author. Edwin Moore was a renowned Scottish poet, novelist, translator, and critic. He was remembered for his poetry. He began writing poetry at a relatively old age and over the course of several years worked out an individual philosophical style for which he gained recognition later in his life. First poem and chorus of the newly dead contain Moore's initial attempts. Moore's later collections include variations on a time theme, The Narrow Place, The Voyage, and other poems, The Labyrinth, and The 1 Foot in Eden. Glossary. Turret wall, a small tower on the top of the castle mowers. People who trim grass and level the lawns. Provender, food. Towering battlements, tall towers with opening to shoot the enemies. Tier, one above the other. Friendly allies, helping or supporting nations or armed forces. Foothold, advantageous position. Quick, alive. Bait, something intended to entice someone to do something. Wicked, evil or morally wrong. Wicket gate, a small gate. Wizened warder, an age-old god. Maze, winding, intricate, confusing path. Treacherous, disloyal. Groan, lament, cry. Citadel, a safe and strong fort. Overthrown, conquered or defeated. Maintain, believes. Based on your understanding of the poem, answer the following questions in 1 or 2 sentences each. Who is the narrator in the poem? The soldier, that is, one of the soldiers who was guarding the citadel, watching to shoot their enemy, is the narrator. How long had the soldiers been in the castle? The soldiers had been there all through the summer in the castle. Why were the soldiers in the castle fearless? The soldiers in the castle were fearless because they had plenty of weapons to protect them and a large quantity of ration in stock to take care of the well-being of the soldiers inside the castle. Where were the enemies? The enemies were half a mile far away from the castle. Why does the narrator say that the enemy was no threat at all? The narrator says that the enemy was no threat at all because the walls of the castle were so high, and besides, their captain was brave and all the soldiers were honest followers. Did the soldiers fight with the enemies face to face? No. The soldiers did not fight with the enemies face to face. Who had led the enemies in? A wizened warder, that is, an aged guard in. How did the enemies enter the castle? The enemies entered the castle through the wicket gate. Why were the secret galleries bare? The secret galleries became bare because the enemies entered through the wicket gate and captured the castle. As they conquered the castle, their galleries were made empty. What was the shameful act? The shameful act was the disloyalty of the old God who bribed the enemies. Why didn't the narrator want to tell the tale to anybody? The narrator did not want to tell the tale to anybody because their own God, had betrayed them and let the enemies inside the castle. Why did the narrator feel helpless? Even though the narrator's captain was brave and all the soldiers were loyal, their own God had forsaken them. Therefore, the narrator was helpless. Who was the real enemy? Gold was the real enemy. Read the poem again and complete the summary using the words given in box. Number 1, half a kilometer. 2, washing, castle, brave, ration, capture, plenty, and confidence, lamented, shameful, wicked God, bait, let, gold, weapon, citadel, weak, discovery, helpless, enemy. Stanzas 1 to 3. The Castle by Edwin Moore is a moving poem on the capture of a well-guarded castle. The soldiers of the castle were totally stress-free and relaxed. They were confident of their castle's physical strength. Through the turrets, they were able to watch the movers, and no enemy was found up to the distance of half a kilometer, and so they seemed no threat to the castle. They had plenty of weapons to protect them and a large quantity of ration in stock to take care of the well-being of the soldiers inside the castle. The soldiers stood one above the other on the towering watching to shoot the enemy at sight. They believed that the castle was absolutely safe because their captain was brave and the soldiers were loyal. Stanzas 4 to 6. Even by a trick, no one but the birds could enter. The enemy could not use a bait for their entry inside the castle, but there was a wicket gate guarded by a wicked god. He let in the enemies inside the famous citadel that had been known for its secret gallery and intricate path. The strong castle became weak and thin because of the greedy, disloyal warder. The citadel was captured by the enemies for gold. The narrator lamented over the disloyalty of the useless warder and also decided not to disclose this shameful story to anyone. He was helpless and wondered how he would keep this truth to himself. He regretted not finding any weapon to fight with. The enemy is called gold. Read the poem and answer the following in short paragraph of 8 to 10 sentences each. How safe was the castle? How was it conquered? Now the paragraph for the toppers. The soldiers of the confident of their castle were very much confident of their physical strength. Through the turrets they were able to watch the movers and no enemy was found up to the distance of half a mile. They had plenty of weapons to protect them and a large quantity of ration in stock for providing food for many days. The soldiers stood one above the other, watching on the towering battlement. They were ready to shoot at the enemy. They believed that the castle was absolutely safe because of their captain was brave and all the soldiers were loyal to him. But there was a wicket gate guarded by a wicked god. He let in the enemies inside the famous citadel through the secret gallery and intricate path. The strong castle became weak and thin because of the greedy, disloyal god. The citadel was captured by the enemies for gold. Thus, the castle was conquered. The next is for the mediocre students. The Castle was written by Edwin Moore is a touching and emotional poem of a soldier who expresses the shameful act done by the wicked warder who guarded a wicket gate. The castle was very strong and the soldiers could watch the enemies from half half a mile away. The soldiers were standing one above the other on the towering battlement. They were able to shoot the enemy at sight. They had plenty of weapons and sufficient ration for their food. Besides, their captain was brave and they were all loyal to him. But unfortunately, the god bribed the enemy soldier and let them in receiving gold. The famous citadel became weak and thin because of the greedy, disloyal warder. The citadel was captured by the enemies for gold. This shameful act was not able to bear by one of the soldiers. For slow learners, the poem Castle, written by Edwin Moore, is a moving poem on the capture of a well-guarded castle. The soldiers of the castle were so relaxed. They were confident of their castle's physical strength. Through a small tower on the top of the castle, they were able to watch the movers and their enemies were half a mile away. They had plenty of weapons to protect them and a large quantity of ration inside the castle. They believed that the castle was absolutely safe because their captain was brave and the soldiers were loyal. But there was a wicket gate guarded by a wicked god who let in the enemies by getting gold. The strong castle became weak and the strong castle became weak because of their greedy, disloyal warder. The citadel was captured by the enemies and thus it was conquered by the enemies. Bring out the contrasting picture of the castle as depicted in stanza 3 and 5. For toppers, stanza 3 says that the castle was very strong. Through the turret, the soldiers could watch up the distance of half a mile. They had plenty of weapons and a large quantity of food in stock. The soldiers stood one above the other on the towering battlement. They were ready to shoot the enemy at sight. They believed that the castle was absolutely safe because their captain was brave and the soldiers were loyal. Stanza 5 says that the castle was strong but the tunneled stone became weak and thin. It was lost without any fight. The citadel was captured by the enemies for gold. The sacred galleries were bare. Thus the castle was conquered. For mediocre students, stanza 3. Stanza 3 depicted that the castle was strong. Through the turret, the soldiers could watch up to the distance of half a mile. They had plenty of weapons and a large quantity of ration in stock. The soldiers stood one above the other on the towering battlement. They were ready to shoot the enemy at sight. They believed that the castle was absolutely safe because their captain was brave and the soldiers were loyal. Stanza 5. Stanza 5 expressed that the strong castle's maze of tunneled stone became weak and thin. It was lost without any fight. The citadel was captured by the enemies for gold. The sacred galleries were bare. Thus the castle was conquered. For slow learners, the great castle, whose gates were strong and the walls were so thick and high, it was so smooth that no one could climb at it, nor any clever trick can be used to get in. If at all anyone used a trick to get in, only death will be the reward. But only a bird could get in. Such a great tunneled stone became thin and weak because of the disloyal warder. The citadel was captured by the enemies for gold. The famous citadel, which had the maze of tunneled stone, was conquered by the enemies. Human greed led to the mighty fall of the citadel. Explain for toppers. The castle's physical strength gave the soldier a great comfort because through the turret the soldiers were able to watch the movers, and no enemy was found up to the distance of half a mile. They had plenty of weapons to protect them and a large quantity of ration in stock. The soldiers stood one above the other on the towering battlement. They were able to shoot the enemy at sight. They believed that the castle was absolutely safe because their captain was brave and the soldiers were loyal. But there was a wicket gate guarded by a wicked god. He let in the enemies inside the famous citadel through the sacred gallery and intricate path. The strong castle became weak and thin because of the greedy, disloyal warder. The citadel was captured by the enemies for gold. Thus, the greed of the warder led to the fall of the citadel. For mediocre students, the The soldiers of the castle were very confident of the physical strength of the castle. They were able to watch the distant movers half a mile away, and no enemy was found up to the distance. They had plenty of weapons and sufficient food stocked. Besides, their captain was brave and all the soldiers were loyal. But there was a wicked god who let in the enemies through a secret gallery, and as a result, the castle became weak and thin. The castle was conquered by bribing the enemy with gold. Thus, the human greed led to the mighty fall. For slow learners, the poem Castle is a famous and moving poem of Edwin Moore where he celebrates the greatness and loyalty of the soldiers which was later on made to fall in the hands of the enemies, led by a wicked god by getting gold. It was a shameful act, as the narrator explains, that the money is the root cause of all evils. The greedy man surrenders himself in front of gold and money, and it is a great tragedy that the maze of tunneled wall became so weak in front of gold, and thus the mighty fall of the citadel was due to the human greed. Next exercise, read the following given lines and answer the questions that follow in a line or two. All through the summer at ease we lay, and daily from the turret wall we watched the mowers in the hay. Who does we refer to? We refers to the soldiers in the castle. How did the soldier spend the summer days? The soldiers spent the summer days with ease and led a stress free life inside the castle. What could they watch from the turret wall? Through the turrets, they were able to watch the mowers, and no enemy was found up to the distance of half a mile. Our gates were strong, our walls were thick, so smooth and high no man could win. How was the castle? The gates of the castle were so strong and smooth, as well as very high. What was the firm belief of the soldiers? The soldiers believed that the walls of the castle were so high, smooth, and no man could climb up the wall and get into the castle. Next, a foothold there, no clever trick could take us dead or quick. Only a bird could have got in. What was challenging? The challenge was that no clever trick could work out. If at all the trick worked out, anyone would come out dead because only a bird could get in. Which aspect of the castle's strength is conveyed by the above line? Nobody can step 1 foot into the castle. No clever trick can work out to get into the castle. Next. Oh, then our maze of tunneled stone grew thin and treacherous as air. The castle was lost without a groan. The famous citadel overthrown. Bring out the contrast in the first two lines. The castle had a maze tunneled with stones. It became thin due to the treacherous act. What happened to the castle? The castle was captured by the enemies because a wicked warder let the enemies through a wicket gate. Next. We could do nothing being sold. Why could they do nothing? They could not do anything because the enemies were secretly let into the castle by the wicked warder for gold. Why did they feel helpless? They felt helpless because they displayed God disloyal. Because the disloyal God let him the enemies by receiving gold. So explain the following with reference to the context in about 50 to 60 words each. They seemed no threat to us at all. This line is taken from the poem The Castle by Edwin Moore. The soldiers in the castle were watching the movers from half a mile away from the turret wall. The soldiers were totally stress free and relaxed. They were confident of the physical strength of their castle, so they were not afraid of anything. How can this shameful tale be told? This line is an extract from the poem The Castle, written by Edwin Moore. This passage is given by a soldier who was watching over the enemies from the castle. While the soldier soldiers were so confident they are watching over the enemies, they came to know that the wicked wizard at the wicket gate let in the enemies by receiving gold. As they entered the castle through the sacred gate and the strong citadel became weak and thin because of the greedy, disloyal warder. The narrator lamented over the disloyal by the useless warder and also decided not to disclose this shameful story to anyone. I will remain until my death. This line is taken from the poem The Castle by Edwin Moore. The soldiers in the castle were very confident of their duties in watching over the enemies who were residing far away. Everything inside the castle was so sufficient for the soldiers, including food and weapons. Besides, their captain was brave and they were all true to him. But the wicked warder made the enemies to enter the castle through the wicket gate by receiving gold, and called strong and the so-called strong citadel became weak and thin. The narrator calls this action a shameful story, and he will not disclose this event to anyone but keep in mind till his death. Our only enemy was gold. This is an extract taken from the poem The Castle by Edwin Moore. The poem The Castle is a moving poem on the capture of a well guarded castle. The soldiers of the castle were totally stress free and relaxed. They were very confident of their castle's physical strength. They had plenty of weapons to protect them and a large quantity of ration in stock to take care of the well-being of the soldiers inside the castle. Besides, their captain was a strong man and the soldiers were all true to him. But the greedy, disloyal guard received gold from the enemies and let them all through the wicket gate, and the castle became weak and thin and fell into the hands of the enemies. Thereby, the narrator says that their only enemy was gold. Read the poem and complete the table with suitable rhyming words. The rhyming words are lay, hay, away, wall, all, fear, tire, near, load, road, thick, trick, quick, win, in, bait, gate and gate, true, through, stone, grown, thrown, air, bear, told, sold, gold, death, with. Underline the alliterated words in the following lines. With our arms and provender, load on load, load on load, L. A little wicked wicket gate, wicked wicket, W. The wizened warder let them through, wizened, W warder, them through TT. Identify the figure of speech used in the following lines. A little wicket gate. The gate is not wicked, but the warder was a wicked man. Here the figure of speech is transferred epithet. Alliteration, transferred epithet. Alliteration and transferred epithet. Oh, then our maze of tunneled stone, metaphor, grew thin and treacherous as air, simile. How can this shameful tale be told? Interrogation or rhetoric question. Rhetoric, you can say. Rhetoric. Our only enemy was gold, personification. Can you call the castle an allegorical discuss? The poem The Castle is an allegorical poem because an allegory is a complete narrative that involves characters and events that stand for an abstract idea or event. In other words, a story, a poem, or picture that can be interpreted to reveal a hidden meaning, typically a moral or political one. In this poem, the speaker is one of the soldiers. He was in the castle. He narrates how strong was the castle. He tells us that there were plenty of arms and sufficient ration for their livelihood, but they are defeated when the enemy bribes one of their warders, who let them in through a wicket gate. The citadel was captured by enemies for gold. So, this poem tells the idea of corruption and betrayal is often secret and subtle. The poet regretted not having any weapon to fight with the enemy called gold. The truth revealed here is that an army is strong if the men can't be bribed. Listening. Some phrases have been left out in the poem below. Fill in the missing phrases on listening to the reading or the audio played by the teacher. You may listen again if required. If I should die, think only this of me, that there is some corner of a foreign field that is forever England. There shall be in that rich earth a richer dust concealed, a dust whom England bore shaped made aware, gave once her flowers to love her ways to roam. A body of England's breathing English air, washed by the rivers, blessed by sons of home, and think this heart all evil shed away. A pulse in the eternal mind no less gives someone back the thoughts by England, given her sights and sounds. Dreams happy as her day, and laughter learnt of friends and gentleness in hearts at peace under the English heaven.